Good afternoon, students. Today's session is for BSc Nursing second year students. The topic is hypopituitarism. So, as the name is suggesting, hypopituitarism means there is a reduction or the deficiency of the pituitary hormones. So, what is its definition? It is a clinical syndrome of deficiency in the pituitary hormone production. Now there are two terms, panhypopituitarism and the isolated or the partial hypopituitarism. Panhypopituitarism means all of the pituitary hormones will be reduced, but isolated or partial hypopituitarism means either the one or more of the pituitary hormones are involved. So if all the pituitary hormones are reduced, it means panhypopituitarism, and if only one or not all but one or more than one pituitary hormones are involved, it means it is isolated or the partial hypopituitarism. Now what are the causes? There are 5 causes of hypopituitarism. First is tumors, second is infection, third is vascular, fourth is radiation, and the fifth is physical causes. We will discuss about these causes. First is tumor. The most common tumor is the pituitary adenoma. So what do you understand by adenoma? Adenoma, it is a benign tumor and it is formed from the glandular structures which are present. Okay. So if there is a tumor of the pituitary, there will be impairment in the blood flow to the normal pituitary tissue, and this will also lead to the compression of normal pituitary tissue. So if there is a tumor, it will lead to the compression of the normal pituitary tissue, or the blood flow will be impaired to the normal pituitary tissue. So the pituitary gland will not be able to function properly, and therefore the pituitary hormones will be reduced. Also, this tumor may cause interference with the delivery of pituitary hormones from pituitary gland to the organs. The second cause is infection or infiltration. If there is infection of the brain, for example brain abscess, meningitis, or the encephalitis, or there is an infection of the gland, then hemochromatosis, which is known as iron overload. So in the pituitary tissue, the iron will be present, and this will lead to the tissue damage of the pituitary. Third is autoimmune or the lymphocytic hypophysis. So in the lymphocytic hypophysitis, lymphocytes get infiltrated into the pituitary gland and cause the enlargement of the pituitary gland. So in all these conditions, the pituitary tissue is not able to function properly because there is a damage of the normal pituitary tissue, and this causes the hypopituitarism. Next is Sheehan syndrome. What is Sheehan syndrome? This mainly occurs during pregnancy. There are two main causes. First one is in the pregnancy, there is the hyperplasia, that is increase in the number of cells, and hypertrophy, that is increase in the size of cells. So in the pituitary gland there are cells which are lactotroph cells, and these produces prolactin, and prolactin is used for the milk production. So in pregnancy these lactotroph cells increase in size also and increase in number also, due to which the pituitary gland enlarged, and this causes the compression of the vessels of the pituitary gland, and ultimately if there is vascular compression, this will lead to the ischemia, and ischemia will lead to the damage to the pituitary tissue. So the reduction of all the pituitary or one or more pituitary hormones will be there. Next one is, the next cause is what happens during pregnancy. If there is severe bleeding, or after the childbirth there is severe bleeding, there will be hypotension, And if there is a hypotension, then there will be less amount of blood volume which will be present in the pituitary gland. So as a defense mechanism, all the blood vessels will constrict. There will be vasospasm, and if there is constriction of blood vessel, this will cause a less amount of blood volume which will serve the pituitary gland. So ultimately at the end there will be necrosis of the pituitary gland. Next is pituitary apoplexy. Apoplexy means bleeding within the organ, and because of this bleeding the symptoms which may occur. So in the pituitary apoplexy, if there is sudden destruction of the pituitary tissue, and this destruction is occur because there was hemorrhage into the pituitary or there was infarction, it means there was ischemia and there was damage of the pituitary cells. Now why the pituitary apoplexy occur? Because of any brain trauma due to road traffic accident, because the person is using anticoagulation, this will lead to the bleeding, and because of increased intracranial pressure. Next is radiation therapy. If radiation is used for the treatment of brain tumors other than the pituitary tumor, there may be destruction of the pituitary normal tissue. So this may lead to the hypopituitarism. And this radiation induced hypopituitarism affects the growth hormone and the gonadal hormones. But ACTH and the TSH deficiencies are least common in the radiation induced hypopituitarism. Next are physical causes. In the physical causes, there may be brain injury, which can be traumatic, there can be hemorrhage, and there can be any surgery. All these physical causes have caused the destruction or damage of the normal pituitary tissue, leading to hypopituitarism. So we discuss what are the causes of the hypopituitarism: tumors, infection or infiltrations, Sheehan syndrome, pituitary apoplexy, and the physical causes. Now sign and symptom. Now the sign and symptom of hypopituitarism varies from asymptomatic to acute collapse, but it depends upon the etiology, the rapidity of onset, and the predominant hormones involved. Because in the hypopituitarism there may be 1, 2, 3 or all of the pituitary hormones may be involved. So it depends upon which hormone is involved and what is the etiological factor why the hypopituitarism is occurred. So as you all know, from the anterior pituitary we have 5 hormones which are produced: growth hormone, gonadotrophin hormones like LH and the FSH, then ACTH, TSH and the PRL, and from the posterior pituitary ADH and oxytocin. So in the hypopituitarism these 7 hormones will be reduced, or either one or more of the one hormones may be involved. Now if there is a person who is having ACTH deficiency, it will lead to the adrenal insufficiency. If there is TSH deficiency, it will lead to the hypothyroidism. If there is gonadotrophin deficiency, this will lead to the hypogonadism. If there is TSH deficiency, it will lead to the hypothyroidism. Now these are the signs and symptoms which are related to the adrenal insufficiency. So the person will have weight loss, hyperpigmentation, hypotension, axillary and pubic hair will be thin, and vitiligo. Vitiligo means white patches because there is a loss of skin color. Then the person will be fatigue. Lassitude means the person will have no energy. Then malaise, muscle pain, weakness, anorexia, postural dizziness. In the upright posture the person will feel like the head is spinning. Then syncope, for a temporary period there will be loss of consciousness. Then GI symptoms include nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, diarrhea and constipation. Then myalgia, muscle pains, arthralgia, joint pains, and rarely flexion contractures occur. Flexion contracture means the joint will be bent and it can't be straightened. then decreased libido and amenorrhea. What is libido? It is a sex drive. Amenorrhea means the person is not having menstruation. Now the hypothyroidism. We discuss about adrenal insufficiency sign and symptom. Now if TSH deficiency is there, then this will lead to the hypothyroidism. The person will have a hair loss, the person will be fatigued, there will be changes in the mood and the memory, the heart rate will be slow, the person will weight gain, there will be changes of the menstrual, the person will feel cold, the person may have goiter, cholesterol levels will be increased, the person will have constipation, dry skin and hair, the nails will be brittle and the muscles will be sore, and the joints also, there will be pain in the muscles and the joint. Now if there is gonadotrophin deficiency, this will cause different symptoms in the woman and the male. So in the woman there will be oligomenorrhea or the amenorrhea, the loss of libido, vaginal dryness and the dyspareunia, which is pain during sexual intercourse, the loss of secondary sexual characteristics in the woman. While in the man, loss of libido, erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction means the person will be unable to develop or maintain penis erection during the sexual activity. Then infertility, then loss of secondary sex characteristics, then the testes will be atrophied, or gynecomastia, it means enlargement of the breast. Now if there is growth hormone deficiency, the person will be failure to thrive. It means the weight of the person will not be increasing as it should be according to the age. Then the person will have short stature in the children. Most adults remain asymptomatic because of deficiency of growth hormone, but some may experience fatigue, weakness and the decreased quality of life. Because of antidiuretic hormone deficiency, the person will have polyuria and the polydipsia. If the person is having pituitary adenoma, he may have headaches and the double vision. So we discuss about the sign and symptom. The sign and symptom depends upon which hormone deficiency is there. Now how to diagnose this hypopituitarism? Because we know there are various hormones which are involved, so we have to perform the test according to the hormones. For example, first is ACTH stimulation test. In this test, first we will take out the sample of serum cortisol also and the serum ACTH also. Then we will administer 1 microgram or 250 microgram ACTH to the person. Then we will again, after 30 minutes, we will collect the sample of cortisol and the ACTH, and because we have given ACTH, so adrenocorticotropic hormone is given. This will lead to the increased production of cortisol. So if the person is having cortisol level greater than 500 picomole per liter, it means the person has a normal adrenal function. Second, thyroid stimulating hormone and the thyroxine. If there is a low thyroxine level and TSH is normal or low and the thyroid gland look very small or soft, it means the person has a TSH deficiency. Then in the man, if there are testosterone levels are very low, or the amenorrheic woman have a low estradiol but they are having low normal serum FSH and the LH, this will indicate the secondary hypogonadism. Secondary hypogonadism means there is a defect in the hypothalamus or the pituitary. There are two hypogonadism, primary and the secondary. In the primary, there is a diminished functional activity of the testes or the ovaries. Because there is a defect in the test or ovaries, so they will not be able to produce the sex hormones. But in the secondary, there is problem in the hypothalamus or the pituitary. For the growth hormone, we will check the serum insulin like growth factor 1 levels. In the prolactin, we will check the prolactin serum levels. Now there is a test which is water deprivation test and the vasopressin suppression test, which is used for the antidiuretic hormone deficiency. In this test, we will administer 5 units of vasopressin or 1 to 2 microgram of desmopressin subcutaneously. And after 1 hour, we will collect the serum and the urine specimen. So, there are 2 diabetes insipidus. Because of antidiuretic hormone deficiency, we have diabetes insipidus disease. There can be central cause and there can be nephrogenic cause. What is central cause of this diabetes insipidus deficiency? Central cause means antidiuretic hormone is deficiency is there, but in the nephrogenic, the antidiuretic hormone is produced normally, but kidneys are not able to respond to it. So if there is increase in the urine osmolality and the decrease in the serum osmolality, it means the person is having central cause of diabetes insipidus, means there will be decreased antidiuretic hormone deficiency. But if serum also and the urine osmolality do not change, it means the person has nephrogenic diabetes insipidus. In the second case, there will be no hypopituitarism. In the first, there may be hypopituitarism. Now the management. The management include treatment of the underlying causes. And second management is the medicines. In the treatment of the underlying causes, if the person is having pituitary adenoma, so surgical excision of the tumor or the radiation therapy is used. Then for the infection, there needs to be a treatment of the infection. In the hemochromatosis, iron chelation therapy will be used. Now the medications, we will give the hormone replacement therapy. In the adrenal insufficiency, we will provide hydrocortisone, and if hydrocortisone is not available, we will provide prednisone. In the hypothyroidism, we will provide levothyroxine. In the antidiuretic hormone, we will provide vasopressin. Human growth hormones are provided. Estrogen and progestins are given if there is a deficiency or absence of endogenous estrogen or the androgen. Then testosterone are given if there is a deficiency of endogenous testosterone. We can provide combination of desogestrel and the ethinyl estradiol or norgestimate and the ethinyl estradiol. What is their function? They reduce the secretion of luteinizing hormone and the FSH hormone by decreasing the amount of gonadotropin releasing hormone. So we discuss about hypopituitarism. To summarize the topic, it is a clinical syndrome of decreased pituitary hormone production, mainly caused by pituitary adenomas, infection of the brain gland, Sheehan syndrome, and the physical trauma to the gland. Signs and symptoms depends upon the hormone which is affected, and the management include treatment of the underlying cause and mainly the hormone replacement therapy. Thank you.